Um, by the 20-year-old mark, you have a lot of things in the RV that are due for updating. And so that is really an interesting conundrum that you go through. And it really will depend on how handy you are and how willing you are to do the upgrades on one. Because by the time you get to a 20-year-old RV, there are going to be a host of things that are going to be due for updating, and I'm going to run through those really fast. I'm going to try to run through them really fast so you can think about them.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt.
Okay, so continuing on, let's talk as quickly as we can. I'm going to run through the list that I made of all the various components of your Class A motorhome that you would potentially be looking at updating as you approach the 20-year-old mark. And let's make sure I got everything here. Yep. Okay, so right now I have 16 items, and I've even put a price to these that is kind of just a ballpark, what I would call probably a decent deal, but it would be US prices based on my experience. And so obviously it could vary considerably, and there's different qualities of everything. But anyway, let's just go through it real fast. So number one is your refrigerator. Converting from these dual modes to 12 volt, ideally, I think that would be a upgrade on the list for sure. Your roof sealing. As you approach this age, you definitely need to reseal all the hatches and end caps, things like that. You're probably going to want to redo your upholstery, and that could include all the upholstery in the whole RV, or just your couch or your dining room area. You definitely want to convert to all LED lights in the hatches down below and in all the lights, interior and the exterior lights. And we're on to number 5 by now. And number 5 is your paint job on the exterior. Whatever you have by 20 years, whether you have fiberglass and graphics or you have actual full body paint, whatever it is, it's probably looking pretty rough by the 20-year mark. Number 6 is plastics. By 20 years, everything on the RV that's plastic is going to be brittle and faded. And so you're going to be in it's going to be a matter of replacing everything that's brittle and repainting everything that is just faded. And so that's a job. The faucets and fixtures, primarily all your plumbing faucets, even your toilet, like all that stuff's going to be due for replacement by 20 years. Your awning on the exterior, if it's 20 years old, it may not be power. Well, if you're going to convert it to power. This one has a new power awning on it, on Finda's, and it's brilliant. And then the awnings over all the windows. Every single window should have an awning, because heat load is such a big thing on an RV. You want to keep the heat off all the windows all the time. So awnings are real important. Your microwave or your convection oven. Very few of these came with convection ovens 20 years ago, but Finn did. But Finn has a newer convection oven. And then also, if it isn't, you may want to convert to convection ovens so you can then reduce your propane load. I mean, ideally, you may want to go completely eliminate all propane, but eliminating propane or using very little of it means that you can camp for long periods of time. When you're plugged into electricity, you can stay long periods of time and never worry about having to refill anything. So, basically, getting rid of using propane is high on the list when you're upgrading an RV. Your TVs and stereos and technology, that is totally subjective, but modifying the TVs, these to flat screens and so forth, that's a conversion that can actually, I put a lot of time into that. It's surprising how much freaking time it took to make all this work, right? So a lot of time and a lot of money on technology. Tires. If you've never bought tires for a Class A motorhome, you will be shocked. Basically, think about like buying semi-truck tires. Very expensive. They do last a very long time. You could find a 20-year-old Class A motorhome with the original tires. Yes, you will want to change them if that's true. So you could easily spend $5,000 on tires. They could be upwards, well, installed price is probably close to $1,000 a tire. I mean, it could be. So yeah, it could. You could spend a lot of money on tires real quick. Your air conditioners. If you're trying to save on propane, you've got to have heat pumps. Yeah, so finding a older RV that has regular air conditioners, it's actually not terribly difficult to swap them over to heat pumps. They'll be more efficient both ways, and they heat. So that's an easy change that you'd probably want to do every time. And then windows and blinds. We talked about that already. Windows and blinds. As you approach 20 years, the windows are likely going to start fogging up or losing their seals, and then the blinds are just for sure. The strings and things they're going to be degrading. Blinds and windows. Next thing is generator. Generators are notoriously unreliable, and by 20 years old, the thing's not going to be dependable enough. And that's only a factor if you're going to be in hot weather, because the only thing you really need a generator for is running the air conditionings. It is super hard to run air conditioning off of battery power. Not impossible. I mean, I've done it, but it's pretty. Just for most people, that's impossible. Just figure if you're going to run the air conditioning in the RV, you're going to need a generator, and so that is actually that's number 15. I thought I had 16. I'll think about that for a second. Okay, so we're going to call number 16 flooring, and I mean, God help you if you find an old RV with tile, ceramic tile, because if it's anything like Finn was, it's a freaking nightmare. But yeah, if you're doing that, find my video on removing tile. It's one of my videos, removing tile in a Class A motorhome, and then putting down the new flooring. That's the easy part. Getting the old flooring out is the hard part. So see my video on that. And then I'm going to put a 17th one actually, and I'm going to call that miscellaneous. There are going to be a ton of little things that are going to need attention outside of even those things, and that's just case by case really. And maybe that's a leveling system has failed or something like that. I mean, who knows? There's bound to be other things. So it's probably I probably put $1,000 on that. It's probably a pretty small part of it, but I mean, it likely could be bigger. But yeah, so I didn't put a big number for that. But yeah, so adding all that up, pretty significant. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I forgot about electrical. I was looking through my list, and it's like the thing, I guess, because I've just talked about it so much, I didn't think to put it on the upgrade list. So electrical includes, I mean, if I were doing it, I wouldn't do. I mean, I would only do these things. I would update the inverter. I would update the batteries, and I would put a nice big solar power system. And I'd consider that like minimum equipment, and just that equipment to buy, not let alone install. I mean, just what I have on Finn, it's about $2,000 per battery. I have 2 batteries. The inverter is $1,500. The charge controller is $250. The solar panels are $300, and all the electrical and miscellaneous components are about $100. And then I did all the work myself, so I've got like $6,000 in components, even doing all the work myself. So I put, if you're paying someone to do it, $10,000. I mean, yeah, that's a huge thing. So now I have got a pretty thorough list of redoing a older RV to be like ultra modern and incredible. Like this would be better than a new RV in a lot of ways, because it would be custom done the way you want it, and it would have more features than a new RV. So in most respects, so this would be pretty cool. But when I add all this up at like U.S. prices, I get $59,900, so $60,000. And so that is kind of absurd. Buy a $30,000 RV and put $60,000 into it. You have a $90,000 RV, and you're never going to get $90,000 for it if you try to resell it. Yeah, so it would be an incredible thing, but you definitely do that for yourself, because I don't know how you'd ever resell it for $90,000. But I do have a solution for you, however, is you can achieve so much of this at 1/4 the price if you just go to Mexico. And I have a video coming out soon on my trip to Mexico. And so, yeah, I would suggest if you wanted to do a custom thing. Now, this includes any type of, like, you want to buy an old bus or whatever, like, it's almost everything's going to be more than this, because there's way more to do if you buy an old bus versus a Class A motorhome that's within the last 20 years. Um, this is this would be a short list for anything else, but essentially you got a lot of the big ticket items are the same. So so yeah, any of this, I would say purchase your windows in the US and take them with you to Mexico. Even take with you other things you purchase, like the air conditionings, stuff like that. Get a good deal on Amazon, what have you. You know, order up like all your different things, go to Mexico and pay those guys to install it all. They do it at a fraction of the price they do in the US. Pay them to do a full body paint job. Pay them to completely redo all the interior, super cheap there. Get all new upholstery, and then yeah, you just that one trip to Mexico, you would have a transformed RV already. Um, Amazing. Yeah, I mean that's a good deal and at a fraction of the price, but bring a lot of cash. You're going to need it. Um, so that is, I think, the only reasonable way to take an old RV and and make it amazing. But anyway, that brings us around to Finn here. I've got Finn for sale at 45,000, and I feel like that's a pretty cheap price because I have done almost all this stuff. But I haven't. I mean, I've done a lot of it myself, and I went to Mexico, so I didn't spend $60,000. But I think if I add up what I spent, I've got over $20,000. So I've got over $20,000 into a $30,000 RV, maybe more, maybe 25. Plus, I've got like months of work. And so, yeah, it's, I think listing it for 45,000 should be a pretty good deal, um, given everything that I've done to it. But anyway, yeah, so there's my advice, what I think is the best for used RVs, and good luck everybody doing it. I know I've talked a lot. There's so much information here. I'm going to post my lists best I can into comments on this video to try to help anyone out who wants to do this. And then comment. I'm sure there's lots of things to ask, lots of things to comment about. This is a huge topic to try to dive into in one video. So that's it for now. Take care, everybody. Oh, wait a minute, guys. I promised you at the beginning that I was going to tell you my pick for the new RVs. So of all the new RVs being produced, the one that surprised me the most is made by Tiffin. It is the Tiffin Allegro Open Road. And Tiffin makes primarily diesel pusher coaches, nice stuff. And I feel like they use the same quality in their gas-powered RV as they do in their diesel pushers. And they have a lot of options on their floor plans for workstations similar to like what I'm working in. They even let you go down to a queen size bed so you can have proper size end tables. The cabinetry is beautiful. I mean, the fixtures are beautiful. They just do an incredible job. And the other thing is they're taking advantage of the fact that you can get the Ford chassis. I think it's the F57, if I recall. You can get the Ford chassis now all the way up to 30,000 gross weight. And so these Tiffins are heavy. Their dry weight is like 24,000 pounds, but they're gas motorhomes. So, they are incredible, but you pay for it in weight. So, that I still think though that, when you're buying something like this, you're wanting the night, you're paying this kind of money, you want nice stuff. And you know what's incredible? These things are not that expensive. I seriously expected with the quality they make these things at, that they would be $300,000, and I am seeing them for sale under 200, like 180. I'm seeing some of these for sale, and I believe they range from 32 to 38 feet, something like that. So I mean, yeah, they're just my favorite ones out there right now. If I were shopping for an RV and I had the budget for it, I might shop for a Tiffin Allegro Open Road that's a couple years old, to get through that, what we talked about. And And if you could find that thing down closer to 100,000 and have nothing you need to do to it, excepting of course your inverter, that's a couple of things we talked about, but the inverter converter thing, solar power, nothing comes with that. You're gonna have to do that. You're probably gonna have to redo the fridge, but they've been doing residential fridges for a while in those, so yeah, so there's very little you'd have to do to it for a long time. Great option, and good luck to you if you're doing one of those, and tell me about it. I think those are the winner right now.